Geometry Dash is full of a bunch of different creators, some with specific styles, some with really good all-around skill, and I want to kind of start a series talking about some of the more overlooked ones in my opinion. Today we'll be talking about Akuna. Akuna is mainly known for his memory gameplay and gimmicky levels, and over time I've kind of fallen in love with his style. I feel like especially since after 2.2 dropped, it seems like he's really been able to hit his stride and cook up some awesome levels. So I decided why not make a video looking into almost all of their levels and try to spread the word. For this video, I'll be covering and rating each of Akuna's major projects based on decoration and the ideas surrounding the level. I can't really rate the gameplay of each of these because that would take like forever, but I have beaten 3 insane demons by Akuna for the sake of this video. So I'll talk about my experiences with them as they come up. Anyway, before we get into the list, I just want to ask that you consider subscribing. I want to try to reach 4,000 subs before the end of the year, which is a huge goal, I know. We're like barely even halfway there, but I think we can do it if I sell my soul to video making during December. But anyway, if you end up liking this video, I would strongly recommend it because that would make that job a whole lot easier. Before we get into the list, I do want to also just mention I'm going in chronological order, and naturally Akuna's style gets a lot cooler over the years, so if you find yourself a little uninterested at any point, just check out the timestamps in the description to skip ahead to some of the cooler levels in my opinion. Anyway, so the first project we'll be talking about is Tunnel. Tunnel is an ultra collab hosted by Akuna featuring 193 members and 241 separate parts. It's similar to levels like Passages and Trip, basically trying to make a coherent level featuring a bunch of different people. And I think in general this level is pretty interesting to look at, but it just kind of baffles me why he chose such a desaturated color scheme for the level. Passages, for example, is mainly blue, and it creates a really unique vibe throughout the whole level that's kind of like almost an alien atmosphere. But Tunnel by comparison just feels like a warm-up and not a full level. The full level just feels like a pre-drop. Overall though, I do still like this level and I think there's a lot of good parts in it, so I would give this level a strong 6 out of 10. The second major Akuna project is Poeyeng Aeng, a memory insane demon using only 2 colors, and I gotta say, man does this level slap at certain parts. This is actually the first level I beat for this video and I really like it. It's deceivingly easy, taking me only about 700 attempts to beat, and I think it's worth it to do it as one of your first insane demons if you want to try this kind of level. I will say a lot of people seem to struggle with the last straight fly, but you know me, so naturally I fluked it. But either way, I think this level is a great example of why 2-colored levels need to be pushed more, because maybe not every scheme in this level looks good, but some of them are just so crunchy, dude. For enjoyment, I'd give this a 7 out of 10, and for decoration and concepts, I'll give this a 7.5 out of 10. The next major project I found was a 4-star called Intimidating, and let's be real, nobody really cares about 4 stars, but I will say that it throws around a bunch of solid concepts. And I think Intimidating is also just a funny level because basically the idea is that it's intimidating because like 90% of the level is just holding, which I think is really funny. Like this looks like an extreme. If you told me this was an extreme, I would believe you. But yeah, that's, I mean, in my opinion, that's kind of all it really has going for it. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. The next project is kind of a cult classic because it's How Confusing Is the Level. Unironically, the password to my Wi-Fi is themed after this level, but anyway, yeah. How Confusing Is the Level is one of Akuna's most popular projects, and it's an impossible level themed after the also decently popular challenge, Ah ha 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 ha. I'm not kidding, that's the name. Anyway, looking back, it's kind of crazy how ahead of this time this level was for Akuna's other creations. He really popped off around 2.2, but this level also just had its whole own thing going on. I really like the theming, especially in the first part and the moving objects wave, and it would be awesome to see this nerfed and verified someday. I'll give this level a 7.5 out of 10. There's kind of a gap between How Confusing Is the Level and what I would consider Akuna's next major project, but I do want to quickly mention 2 levels that were made before some of his more recent levels. The first one is an old top 1 wave challenge called Bob. I honestly had no idea this existed until recently, and there's probably way better top 1 challenges out there, like Merc for example, but Bob is certainly one of the most levels to ever exist, I would say. The other major thing that came out was Akuna's part in Return Zero, which I would say is one of Akuna's defining features, and personally the reason I found his channel. The part blew up around the time and quickly became one of his most viewed videos, today only being surpassed in views by 2 of his full level showcases. This part, to me, is one of the reasons people liked Return Zero so much, because it was willing to invent out-of-the-box gameplay with all kinds of wacky creators. This part did eventually get some decoration, but sadly the overall project is still dead unless Minecap locks in, bro, please. Moving on, we have Lamp 86, an extreme demon with under 1,000 objects. I think it goes without saying that Para kind of executed this concept a bit better, but I will say that Lamp 86 is really interesting to me because it bears a lot of resemblances to BOOBAWAMBA, which is one of Akuna-kun's much cooler levels to come out. Either way, I'll probably end up giving this level a 4 out of 10 and call it a day. Last Ship is Cool is the actual name of the next Akuna-kun project to come out, and it's one of the first to really start throwing around some cool ideas in my opinion. I do think the level overall is kind of unpolished for right now, but there's a couple of standouts, and while you might be expecting me to call the Last Ship cool, I actually ironically liked the second to last ship. This kind of messy, noisy style that you see in levels like Kawareta has always been appealing to me, and this part is no exception. Overall, I would love to see a remastering of this level with some of Akuna-kun's current skills, because he could definitely make it look amazing with the current 2.2 tools. But in its current state, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. The next level and second insane demon I beat is Spidin Around. Well, okay, beat is kind of a stretch because I did not in fact beat it. I kind of ran out of time and I had this essay I had to write, so you know how it is. But anyway, I chose this level because it uses the freaking Riddle School music, dude. That's so awesome. Riddle School is pretty much this random online game that had banger music for like no reason. So seeing it used in an insane demon really got me excited. Only thing is, this is what the level ends with. And no, this is not a case where it looks easier than it actually is. No, this part is miles harder than everything else in the level. And even though I didn't get there from zero, I ended up dying to the beginning of the last part. Other victors died a lot at this last straight fly, more than even Poeyeng Aeng. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I had to give up, but either way, in general, I do enjoy this level. It has a couple of awkward parts where sinking your clicks will kill you, but overall, it feels really satisfying to pull off, and I wasn't really too bothered by the ending because the rest of the level is pretty consistent. I'd give this level so far a 7 out of 10 in enjoyment and a 7 out of 10 in decoration and concepts. The next project is Akuna memory level, which was, this might blow your mind, a memory level that was made in 6 hours. Once again, this level is just kind of there. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious that most levels made in like that amount of time don't end up looking that good, but I'll slap a 5.5 out of 10 on this and move on. Moving on, Coolie, Mazie, Paloozi is where we start getting some like genuinely unhinged levels. For me, levels like this are just terrifying to learn, but from the ones I've played, it's usually really satisfying to pull off. In general, I think this level is definitely cool in a lot of parts, but in a lot of others, it feels like it just lacks an identity and focuses more on the gameplay, which, to be fair, is a lot to take in by itself. But this is definitely another level concept that Akuna-kun improves on later with some of his more recent projects. Though I will say, this level really dragged in the middle with a lot of uninteresting decoration, but towards the end it really gains its footing again and starts becoming an exciting level. So there was definitely a lot of good stuff here. Either way, alone, I'll give this level a 6.5 out of 10. Next, we have Boom Shakalaka. The level names just keep getting better, bro. Anyway, this is actually a level I plan on beating in the future because I really like the gameplay and the ending for this level is pretty cool, but the decoration in general is lacking. It kind of comes off as a tech memory themed level, and all the designs in the level are just too simplistic to really sell that vibe to me. Overall, I'll give this level a 5.45876 out of 10. But I will say I definitely like certain ideas that this level has. The next level is Limid Maparoonies, and I gotta be honest, I was kind of able to find something that I really enjoyed in every level so far, but for this one, I just couldn't latch on to anything. It doesn't really feel like this level has a real theme, and it also came before Akuna-kun started to use more color in his levels, so a lot of his earlier levels are just really lacking in color diversity. Either way though, I'm proud to say that this is one of the few Akuna-kun levels that you will catch me calling mid, but I guess that is in the name, so it kind of makes sense. I'll give this level a 4.5 out of 10. Next we have Slowidie Slowidoo and Fastidie Fastidoo. It's more amazing level names. As if instantly understanding why Mid Maparoonies was mid, Akuna-kun made a really cool atmospheric colored level. Unfortunately, this level is dark, so it absolutely hates showing up on video. But yeah, I don't have much else to say besides this level is just kind of a vibe. I really like the song, and it's definitely on the easier side, so if anyone wants a medium demon to try out, I would recommend this one. Slowidie Slowidoo is the sequel to Fastidie Fastidoo, and the improvement between these levels is pretty clear to me. Fastidie was another one of Akuna's earlier levels that kind of seems to struggle attaching itself to a clear identity, and while it features a bunch of cool structuring, it all just kind of blends together in my opinion. I do think this level definitely showcases a lot of improvement for Akuna-kun's levels through 2022 to 23, so I'll just give Fastidie a 5 out of 10. It's got some cool stuff, but it's kind of not my favorite for the most part. Alright, Jupiter, my favorite time. This level is by far one of Akuna-kun's most unique and outside the box levels. Like I said, he seems to now finally understand the true power of using colors to theme your levels, and it shows. Being themed around yellow and dark blue really brings a good space theme to the level that isn't really done anywhere else. Like all the other space themes are just either like just having a background that's a galaxy or a black hole, but this one actually uses like colors that you would associate with space to theme itself, and I think that's really cool. Every part in this level runs its own interesting ideas while all sticking to a coherent theme because of the color scheme, and I definitely think Jupiter, my favorite, kind of starts to mark the ascension of Akuna-kun's style into truly memorable levels. Anyway, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Moving on, we have fuzenukebomb, another honestly great, well-themed level. I do think this level is a bit repetitive overall, but so much of the block and background decoration is just fun to look at that I kind of ignore it. A fun fact about this level is that it was actually made with a completely random song, and I would think that's a pretty hard thing to do normally. Getting just a completely random song that you have no attachment to makes it hard to like make a real level out of it, so the fact that he made a level that works this well with the song I think is a pretty good accomplishment. Weirdly enough, I can't find this level anywhere on the servers, so I'm not sure what happened to it, but I really like it, and I'd say it's one of Akuna-kun's more hidden gems. Either way, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Xuser, more like loser, is what I think probably at the time the most polished Akuna-kun level. A lot of his levels do kind of feel like throwing ideas around, but this one really feels well themed and cohesive throughout the whole level without feeling amateur in any way. I vibe with pretty much every part, from the moving memory shit to the part that looks like it's falling apart. There's just so many good ideas thrown around here, and I'm glad that they're all part of a level this good. I might honestly go for this someday, but god damn dude, that ending is like Red World on steroids. Either way, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Miyu and Machine Gang is another absolute masterpiece of a level name, being Akuna-kun's first 2-player memory level. I don't have much to say about this because most of the decoration style is just kind of generic, but this is another level that was made pretty quickly, and despite that, the polish on it is still pretty good. It has probably the goofiest boss fight currently in the list right now, and overall just seems like a satisfying level to pull off. One of my guilty pleasures is just watching people beat this level because it has a really crunchy click pattern, but either way, it's currently ranked as the 7th hardest 2-player level beaten solo, so I'll give it a 5.7 out of 10. The next level is the infamous and recently verified top 15 BOOBAWAMBA. Apparently BOOBAWAMBA is just a word that stands for a really big number, and I think it's definitely one of Akuna-kun's strongest levels. From the song, which is probably his best song choice, to the progression of the level, to the ending, dude. I just want to explain really quick how this ending works because I don't think anybody else has done it on YouTube so far. Basically, throughout the level there are 5 tiny structures that may or may not appear randomly, and each of these objects pertains to a number, and at the end, whatever number shows up on each screen, which is also randomized, will decide whether you need to do an extra jump or not. In each shark's verification, it looks like only the second structure showed up in the level, so at the end you can see him doing an extra click in midair to pass the part where the 2 shows up. Either way, in general, I just love how this ending is so much more complicated than meets the eye and mixes so many other memory level ending concepts. And considering the fact that this level is a freaking top 15, having to pay attention to structures like that the entire way is kind of an insane feat. So once again, huge GG's to East Shark, bro. He's so good. I'll give this level a 7.5 out of 10. Next is Panadol Vortex, a basically invisible 9 circles level. I find this level really interesting because at the time, no other levels really had this level effort of decoration with completely invisible gameplay. I say at the time because now we have Go-Bird and Maze of Destiny, which are also both amazing levels, but Panadol Vortex was definitely a pioneer of its time. Overall, I think that this level has really strong theming, but Panadol Vortex was definitely the first of its time. Overall, I think this level has really strong theming, and like any good 9 circles level, loses half of the quality at the drop, but that's okay because literally all of them do. Either way, this level was mainly made by PickSC and still remains unrated, so if you really like this level, consider checking him out. I'll give this level a 6.75 out of 10. The next level is one of Akuna-kun's craziest levels ever, and that's because it's Y. Y is a 37-minute long memory level with little to no visibility the entire time. What really impressed me about this level is that despite its crazy length, the level is actually really diverse, with a lot of different designs and concepts running throughout the entire thing. I really recommend checking this level out for yourself because obviously it can't handle bit rates, but also because discovering small little things in this level that you really enjoy is super fun to do, and it's kind of amazing how many things Akuna can fit in. I personally really like this spiky part with the cube because it kind of builds this idea of this kind of unknown atmosphere, and I don't know, I just like the kind of like almost natural vibe that it gives. Anyway, this level is obviously a huge challenge in terms of memory because you're literally remembering a 37-minute sequence, and the very underrated player Brutal Sword actually achieved 80% on it a while ago, so please take the time to check him out. Either way, I'll give this level a solid 8 out of 10. The next level is Based After Based, which is still unrated, bro. What the heck? This level is a top 10 verified by Diamond Splash a couple of months ago. That is all dual and has no spikes. It should be mentioned that this level is mega collab, but regardless, it's still a very well hosted level. So I think it's fair to say that Akuna-kun's style really rubbed off here. Plus, he built all the gameplay. I like the fact that it doesn't really take itself too seriously while also randomly hitting you with super intricate block designs and complicated gameplay and really pleasing color palette. I will admit that I can see why this level isn't rated, being probably because it's a little too goofy for RobTop's taste, but it is nonetheless a really cool level that will hopefully start to be beaten by some top players in the future. I'll give Based After Based a 8 out of 10. Guideless Goobering is an absolutely wild extended list difficulty level that genuinely has some of the coolest parts I've ever seen in GD. Along with really strong decoration, it has a lot of really interesting gameplay like the staggered duel at the end, and I really enjoyed having a level that has a lot of rainbows but also uses white and black as its main colors in each part. It really helps convey more of an upbeat style while not being like a blast of super saturated colors thrown in your face. Anyway, this is another collab, but this time it's a team of just Akuna-kun, Xuser, and Enfer, and I think they cooked on this one, dude. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next we have Motor MOGOK, which is Akuna-kun's first major extreme in 2.2. I really like Motor MOGOK's theming of basically a factory theme with a lot of color mixed in. What stood out to me in this one was definitely the progression of the level. It feels a lot more like it threw a lot of ideas around while also managing to merge them together. I think in terms of like cohesiveness, this is on par with Xuser, more like Loser. Parts like the ending work really well with the song in my opinion, and it's really nice to see such a variety of gameplay types all fit into one level's theming. If I did have one criticism, it would be that it seems to lean a bit too much into the rainbows at times and makes the level feel a bit like it's trying too hard to be colorful while still sticking to a machine type vibe. Either way, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Next we have Lemon Attorneys, which is finally the third insane demon that I beat for this level, and dude, I gotta say, this is probably hands down my new favorite Akuna-kun level and probably Insane Demon as well. This level has such a good atmosphere in so many parts. It manages to never drag for like more than a couple seconds. To be fair, Akuna-kun did only decorate this and Jala made the gameplay, but I still really enjoyed playing this level and seeing all the decoration, and it definitely wouldn't have been this good without it, so I think it's fair to include. The gameplay itself is really consistent and decently long, making it feel really accomplishing to get far. What I also really liked about playing it is that a lot of my favorite parts are towards the end, so dying later on was never really annoying because it was just getting to reach more cool parts. I will say, despite me glazing this level a lot, it did take me almost 5,000 attempts because it's very learning. But bro, this level's so good. I will be posting it on my second channel as a completion, so if you want to check that out, you can. If you have the skill, please play this because it has like 6 victors right now, which is criminal. And I should mention that it's also currently unrated, and that is a crime against humanity. So please, if you're watching this mod, if you send any level from this video, send Lemon Attorneys. Dude, I love this level so much. Limbo, but Uwu, I guess IDK is ironically one of Akuna-kun's most controversial levels because, oh boo-hoo, Twitter didn't like the level name. Well, he literally didn't choose it, but funnily enough, there's also deep lore surrounding the names for some reason. Anyway, this level is kind of the ultimate memory level because it features some of the most wild mechanics I've seen in a memory level, which really use 2.2 to its maximum potential. Overall, I think this level is really strong in theming and probably currently Akuna-kun's most polished level. Despite that, it's kind of crazy that it hasn't gotten rated yet. I don't really know what happened there, but mods also need to lock in on this. Anyway, yeah, this level is really cool. The maze is probably my favorite part, 8 out of 10. Alright, finally we arrive at the most recent completed Akuna project, Scrubbabingo Force. This level is honestly probably the funniest to me just because some of the parts are just completely doing their own thing. This part in particular is just so like, I don't know what is so funny about it to me, but the fact that this is like a less difficulty level is so funny. Anyway, this level does a good job, I think, of being a modernized hexagon force that also adds a lot of its own ideas on, like these overlapping hexagon structures that look straight out of Jupiter, my favorite, and this part towards the ending with a super cool background. Like this level just goes on and like surprises you randomly with like the coolest shit ever. It's so fun. But anyway, I think this is another deserving 8 out of 10. And with that, that is all of Akuna-kun's levels rated. I definitely see a huge improvement over the years, and I believe he's currently in his peak. 2.2 really allowed for an explosion of memory potential, and all of his most recent levels have been some of my favorites to come out, especially my beloved Lemon Attorneys. I think this goes without saying, but please subscribe to this guy. He's already working on a bunch of new levels like Fancy Schmancy Zaza, and Neptune is pretty cool, so please go support his upcoming projects. As for me, I once again wasted more time than I should to make a video, but it's all about the algorithm and the views, no happiness for me. Now, I'm kidding, but the last video did do really well, and I'm super excited to be this close to 3,000 subs. I do want to do a video involving subscribers for the 3,000 sub special, so make sure you're subscribed when that comes out, because I might be willing to do some giveaways. Either way, channel aside, I really hope this series can do okay, because there's some genuine, really awesome creators in this community, and I want to be able to get them more recognition making videos if that's how I have to do it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you next week if I don't like die.